It was supposed to be a perfect day on the water. Bruce and Robin, along with their close friends Michael and Sean, were celebrating their joint birthdays. The four of them had made this an annual tradition, taking the boat out into the Gulf of Mexico, away from the noise of daily life, to enjoy the sunshine, the sea, and each other's company. The morning was beautiful. The sky stretched endlessly, a soft shade of blue as the sun climbed lazily over the horizon. The air was warm but not too hot, and the calm water reflected the sunlight like a mirror. They had been out for hours now, drifting peacefully. The boat bobbed gently with the rhythm of the waves. It was the kind of day you didn't want to end. As they prepared to enjoy their lunch, Bruce, the most experienced fisherman of the group, picked up his rod. He cast the line into the water, expecting to catch something they could cook for lunch. The day seemed like it was unfolding exactly as planned. But then, something caught Bruce's attention. He squinted into the distance, where a strange object floated, barely visible in the water. At first, he thought it was just debris, maybe a tangle of algae or some flotsam carried by the waves. But as he focused, his curiosity deepened. The object seemed different. "Hey, Sean, Michael, come take a look at this," Bruce called, trying to make sense of the figure in the water. The others moved toward the edge of the boat, squinting into the distance. "It's probably nothing," Sean said with a shrug. "A piece of junk floating out here." But Bruce wasn't so sure. He adjusted the lens of his binoculars, and that's when he saw it, a flash of brown. He quickly turned the boat toward the mysterious object, the engine humming softly as they approached. And then, as they drew closer, the horror hit. It wasn't debris, it was an animal, a small body, helplessly floating in the vast expanse of the ocean. The water rocked gently around it, but the creature was motionless. The sight left Bruce and his friends frozen in place. Is that a dog?" Michael asked, his voice full of disbelief. Bruce squinted again. "It looks like one. But what's it doing out here?" The crew exchanged worried glances. Bruce moved quickly, shutting off the engine and letting the boat drift closer, his heart pounding as they neared the strange sight. As they got within a few yards, the object in the water began to take shape. He saw small, helpless limbs floating among the waves, 2 arms, 2 legs. But it wasn't just any dog. It was a Jack Russell Terrier. A small dog, stranded far from shore, barely clinging to life. The dog had a life jacket on. That small, bright life preserver was the only reason it was still afloat. The crew's hearts dropped. How could a dog have ended up here? "Get the net!" Sean shouted. But as they pulled up beside the dog, the truth became clearer. This little dog was still alive, but it was in desperate need of help. Every second counted. The crew knew they couldn't waste time asking questions. The only thing that mattered now was getting the dog to safety. As they gently maneuvered the boat closer to the dog, it paddled toward them with surprising determination, its tiny body shaking from exhaustion. Bruce reached down carefully, keeping his movements slow and steady. The dog's eyes, filled with fear and exhaustion, locked onto his. It was clear that the animal recognized them as potential saviors. Without hesitation, Michael leaned over the side of the boat, extending his arms toward the dog. The Jack Russell, though weakened, paddled furiously toward the boat, its tiny legs working desperately against the waves. With one swift motion, Michael scooped the dog up and brought it aboard, cradling it gently in his arms. The small creature trembled violently. It had been fighting the strong currents for hours, but it was still alive, and that was a miracle in itself. Once on board, they quickly removed the dog's life jacket and wrapped it in towels to warm it up. The little dog, now safe from the open sea, was still shaking, but at least it was no longer at the mercy of the ocean. "What do we do now?" Sean asked, glancing nervously at the water as if expecting more surprises. "We need to get him to the Coast Guard, as soon as possible," Bruce said, his voice steady despite the chaos of the situation. "But first, let's make sure he's okay." The dog slowly stopped shaking and its breathing steadied as they continued to wrap it in towels and give it water. It looked up at them with tired eyes, as if grateful for the help, but one question still lingered. How did this dog end up so far from shore? As they contacted the Coast Guard, the answer came swiftly. A call earlier that morning had reported a dog overboard from a nearby boat. The Jack Russell, named Jägermeister, had jumped overboard while his owner, Joey Myrick, was checking the hull of his boat. The little dog had swum desperately, and when Joey realized Jägermeister was gone, he was frantic. As they made the call, a sense of relief washed over the crew. Jägermeister's reunion with his owner was already on the horizon. When the Coast Guard arrived and reunited Joey with his beloved dog, the scene was emotional. Joey hugged Jägermeister tightly, tears of joy streaming down his face. Thank you, he said through his tears, his voice full of gratitude. Robin, who'd been part of the rescue team, watched the moment unfold. She felt her heart swell with warmth. "It was the least we could do," she said.